What? Before we jump in,
yeah,
they did. Before we jump in, that's the Chiefs. Woo! Or did you just dab?
I don't know.
Or did you just go?
I did this.
I think you dabbed. I think you
I can dab. I'll dab for you.
Right.
God.
As the kids do.
I know what that is.
As the kids say.
I don't even know what it means.
It's some sort of Zoomer thing.
Burn this footage?
It's something to do with I don't know.
Are you gonna break a hip?
Yeah, you're gonna put a hip out.
Oh!
We
We also discussed that I am the oldest person to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the old man.
Yeah, back in my
in my day.
AD&D.
Back in the
Back
90s.
when there was yellow ribbons on the books.
So I wanted, before we jump in, I wanted to kind of maybe do a refresher on some house rules that we've instituted, because I know that we're talking about doing one for the upcoming Mechanics
rounds,
Monday.
yeah.
For rounds.
Yes.
So the first house rule we have is, and we've been testing this for a while, is the idea of introducing rounds. So in standard Zweihander, before the game even starts, we do it mostly off camera, but we roll initiative, put up on a board, and we use that to run everything throughout the entire game session. And that's kind of bog standard Zweihander, and it's done for a couple of reasons. One, so we don't have to break up between role play to move to combat. And then two, because it makes things easier from a game master, so I can if a bunch of people are trying to do something at once, I just go back to initiative and say, okay, well, here's kind of the ring stack order. You're the one who initiated the action, so we'll start with you and then move down the list. So we've been trying, and we've done, I think, 3 combat scenarios at this point with the rounds.
3 or 4.
3 or 4. So we do a D&D approach, which is everybody rolls their initiative, we put it on cards, everyone takes their turn. When their turn is over, I hand the card back, they re-roll their initiative and hold it in reserve. And then the next round comes, everyone rolls, put the cards up, and it makes things more dynamic. I think it's had some interesting results. I don't know if I'm on board with that 100% yet, but that's one of the house rules we tried, or we're on. So what are the other house rules we have currently in game? What do we currently have? Are we using outside of the rounds one?
Drawing weapons cost AP.
That's right. Drawing weapons cost AP. Sorry.
Out of easy reach.
It should be specifically. It should be, in my opinion, in my Game Master Fiat mode, which is, and the game doesn't really say this. It doesn't say you can swap weapons freely in combat. It says if you draw your weapon, you do it for free. But if you start swapping weapons, that's where I start. That's why I take Embers.
I hate to be the actually guy.
God damn it. Well, actually,
the book does call out, as long as you do so at the beginning of your turn, it costs 0 AP.
So somewhere on the screen we should put the page number over here. There it is.
Yeah.
It says what? I'm sorry?
It says, as long as you do so at the beginning of your turn, you may trade weapons, swap out, and something else for free. Cool. But then, it doesn't say it, but then it's implied that, if you choose to switch weapons after your turn has started, then it costs AP because you're in the middle of doing
right.
whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So you could
It's
swap
early in the
according to the
combat
rules.
chapter too, isn't it? I mean, it's fairly early.
So according to the rules, you could swap your weapon every single round.
Every single round for 0 AP.
Turn,
I should say.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as it's not the beginning of your turn.
Turn, yeah.
Beginning of each term,
at the beginning.
Turn.
Yeah, so let's say you wanted to move from well, he's gonna pull up last time. I'm gonna get my 2-handed sword. I'm gonna get my Zweihander out. I'm gonna just whack him. You can do that as long as you do it at the beginning of your turn. As opposed to, I'm gonna move, draw my weapon, and strike. You have to do it, you declare it at the beginning. I'm gonna swap weapons. So there's a little bit of tactical stickiness there. Yeah. Which I think we're gonna move to. We're gonna delete that house rule. We're gonna move back to the original rules. So as long as you declare at the beginning of your turn. So what are some other house rules we have?
Is shooting into melee, making it a hard test, is that a house rule?
That is a fiat.
That is a fiat, yeah.
Okay.
That is a fiat. And I think, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, under either simple range or martial range, because it lists in the skills chapter different example difficulty ratings. Difficulty ratings are always GM fiat. Mm-hmm. Rarely are they fixed, with exceptions of certain things, like this example. Magic is fixed, or it's just I should say it's a starting point. It's not fixed. It's a starting point.
Just
Healing.
nothing's truly fixed, right?
Usually not always healing. It depends on the sort of
intimidating words.
Fire,
Yeah.
catching on fire, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everything has a suggested starting point.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's no hard and fast difficulty ratings. There's a few exceptions to that, but they're always a starting point.
I know.
Easy reach.
Something I've seen you do before is you allow for aiming to adjust difficulty rating.
Yes, as opposed to just bonus.
Right. Yeah, because in the book it's
It's a bonus
base
offsave.
chance.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's
It's really the same though, isn't it?
it is not,
No.
and here's why it's not the same. Because difficulty rating the better your difficulty rating, the better your chances
Of
of
the other
getting
person
crits,
dodging
failure.
and-
No, well, yeah, the other person has a worse chance of dodging stuff. But more importantly, when you get into advanced tier, you have a cap. You can only add up to 30% to your dice rolls.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Talent, skills, traits, all that fun stuff. You only add to 30% before difficulty rating. So that's why I adjust difficulty rating instead, so you could take advantage of the most bonuses possible. Because if you've got 3 skill ranks in martial melee, and you've got a talent that allows you to do something really cool by adding a plus 20%, you can't add that plus 20%. Because you can't add more than plus 30 to your die roll before difficulty rating is called out. So it's better for me to adjust difficulty rating for you. It's more advantageous.
I just thought of a different house rule. I was reminding myself. So I was like, ding.
Yeah. So that's not really. So yeah. So to your point, Mike. No, that aiming thing is not a house rule. It's just all difficulty ratings are GM fiat,
Right.
and it's intended to be so. I mean, technically, all rules are a suggestion. I suppose, like
Yeah.
we change it. It's
Rule
better for
zero,
our table.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Rule 0 doesn't say ignore rules. Rule 0 says change rules that work best for your game table.
Right.
Work together to do it, not ignore them.
Well, because years ago it was like if you aimed, you negated the
That's right.
difficulty
Yeah,
completely. But
a long time ago,
that was a
early
long,
version.
long
That's
time
right.
ago. So
Before we
don't
use the battle
remember that
accuracy.
don't let me confuse.
Yeah.
What other house rules do we have?
This doesn't come up very often because it's only on a campaign basis, but when we roll up characters, we use the Grim Purpose method with exception to profession.
That's right. We select our professions.
Yes. And a large reason to that is because we've been playing Zweihander for, 7, 8 years now?
And a lot of us want to try new characters.
Yeah,
new
yeah.
builds.
But some of us,
Or if you're like
Still-
Mike, you plan for 6 months before.
yeah, some of us still do nothing but Grim Purpose method, and they won't ever deviate from it. So, but yeah, Daniel
I
allows
like
us.
dice.
Yeah, he lets us choose that.
And we need to do it thematically for the game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we don't try to balance for like tank, healer, support.
No.
It's always
Oh,
like
we've never done that.
no. It's like what makes sense for the story. Like what do you want to play?
Yeah.
What makes sense for the story, and how would it fit within the group's dynamic?
Yeah, we're
Yeah, 'cause
trying
last
to.
time-
Jane was formed.
Before
Yeah.
this campaign, the last
It's-
2 we didn't have a healer.
It's
right?
almost like formulating a cast more than like necessarily choosing roles within like
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
No.
play
we
a
choose
little
a
bit.
party theme.
See, I play a little bit differently. Like when
Ben was our last healer before him.
Well, see, when Elisa was like kind of created or whatever, my thought was, all right, this is what it rolled up as. Okay, this is how it can fit into the story. And
Yeah.
I've always been that role player that's like, no, let me see how this person can fit in this world as opposed
Yeah.
to how I can make this world work. This person, I guess.
Yeah. So what other house rules have we? Well, we do the spend a fortune point to go one step up the damage or peril condition track immediately after suffering peril or damage.
Is that an
Yeah.
easy reach? Drop weapons. That's always been one of your rules. Is that actually in the book?
No.
No.
No,
I didn't
easy
think so.
reach,
That's
no.
that's
No.
that's been
Well,
one of your table
well,
rules for
but-
like
But he so
a
so
millennial
that's
too.
right. That used to happen.
Seriously, since-
That used to happen a lot back when we had the house rule of, and I think we talked about that house rule for the Dunhall Mystery.
Yeah.
When we had the house rule of when you're knocked prone, you drop your weapon.
Right.
But that,
It's like why
that's
would you do
been,
that? Just,
yeah.
Why would you ever use disarm?
Yeah.
That's what it boiled down to.
Because it does both.
Right. It
Because
just
That's
starts
right.
finding
That's
you
right.
knock someone down for
Yeah.
Yeah.
free, basically.
So, I mean, it still happens because there are critical successes and failures.
Yeah.
but-
Right. Right. Anytime a weapon's dropped, whether it's disarmed or however.
It's usually outside of easy reach. That's 2 AP.
Right.
To
Yeah.
recover.
Well, I've also seen Dan adjudicate, like, if you willingly drop your weapon, it's right at your feet.
That's right.
Yeah, that's also true.
So just pick it right up.
Yeah.
It's the ones I can really think of because we dump strike again. We dump
Yeah.
multiple attacks. Like we just
There's
Damn
Well, those
ass.
weren't really house
I feel-
rules, though. Those were like beta tests. Really.
Yeah.
I
More
feel like
than-
we house ruled a couple magic-y things. I just can't quite recall what they were. Like,
What about
there's a couple
magic?
times when I like a character lost a spell book or something like that.
oh wait, like you mean Nick gets to play? A
well,
magic
hold on.
or-
Time out. We're talking about this game.
Yeah.
No, this
This-
specific
this
game. Never
specific
mind.
game.
Never mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's like way in the past.
Yeah.
But
What are we not doing the multiple attacks? Did we drop that?
We
We
did.
did drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we dropped that.
We play tested it and decided no.
It turned out to be a big mess.
It was just it was a time-consuming mess.
Well, it wasn't
More
time consuming.
No.
It
No,
just made
it's
perilous
OP.
stunts unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why would I
Why-
disarm or knock you down when I can just hit you again?
And again.
But no, not today. We do have one house rule we adopted out of that, which is going to stick, which is the if you miss with a perilous
Oh, yeah.
attack, or so if you miss with a perilous stunt or miss with a melee attack, try again for 1 AP.
I like that.
Before
You
it used to
only
be
allowed one
try and if you
success.
fail, you're done.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were just screwed.
Now it's just try it again. Try it again.
Oh.
Worst difficulty rating, but try it again.
I like that. 'Cause that's how we stacked everything else.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so now it's not you're limited to one attack action, you're limited to one successful attack action.
That's right. That's right.
I like that.
And I think that's.
It's the
Don't we write down house rules in like the book though? There's a room for it. I thought someone wrote some down.
I remember there being a printed one.
difficulty rating too.
What do you mean difficulty rating?
When we do the interactions, if I fail, then the next person goes lower and lower and lower. Or if I
Are you
succeed,
talking
I
about
go up.
social?
Oh, you're talking about like
Social
scaling
intrigue.
difficulty?
Yeah, that's not
Oh,
the
yeah,
book,
it's
is it?
on this page.
That's GMP, I
I don't
believe.
have
So,
it written down, though.
what you're I think
Yeah,
what
that
you're
could be
referring
fiat.
what you're referring to is what I like to call skill piling. So skill piling is like, oh, I fail. Well, I'm gonna try instead. Like people like,
No. I meant social interactions. Like, say I failed my social interaction. Remember the difficult rating adjusts.
so you're thinking of wilderness travel, which is it is in the rules. It's a game master rule.
We've had that in this, haven't we?
We have, yeah. We've
Okay.
had people fail and it affected everybody else's tests.
Okay.
If you fail, I think it's if you fail as a
I think it's if you crit fail as a guide.
guide. That's right. Yeah, if crit fails a guide, it affects everybody else's skill tests. They get
Yep.
worse.
But when
So
you crit
just
succeed-
everyone listening, just remember, the rules say this, but remember our game's just a slight bit worse for us.
No, it works both ways. It's how
It's
I
a joke.
I think the point we're trying to drive to is that I think when we look at Zweihander,
Slight bit harder.
Yeah, we
right.
like hard mode.
hard
It's
mode.
hard mode.
When we look at Zweihander, and really any RPG, you know, the game is there for you to kind of craft and make your own around the game table. Like, because people get questions in Discord like, well, why do you guys do it this way or why do you do it that way? It's like, well, we've been playing for a long time. We're testing things out. This is how we like to play at our game table. Well, it's not in the book. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay if you
Every
don't
game will
use
house rule in their own way.
if you don't use Grim and Perilous method to create characters. That's 100% okay. We
No,
approve
it's
of you
not.
being able to do that.
No,
We,
it's
we,
not.
we just around here we just
Isn't
enjoy
it like
misery.
in,
So
like the second page it says that too?
No, it's not.
No, it's not anymore.
No.
But,
Oh, it's not
but-
anymore? Okay.
But you can show your GM this video. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you can't. No,
You
you,
approve.
You have the approval of the creators of Zweihander.
I make the mechanics Mondays. I make the rules.